Disclaimer: based on real events. Names and details have been changed for confidentiality. My name is Margaret. I'm 67 years old, and my daughter-in-law locked me in a bathroom at my son's wedding for 4 hours. While guests danced and celebrated at an $85,000 wedding, I screamed for help. Cold, dark, basement bathroom. I have diabetes. My medication was upstairs in my purse. But let me tell you who I am, so you understand why this story broke my heart. I gave birth to Jacob when I was 35, alone, in a hospital without insurance. I held him in that cold room and made a promise. I will never abandon you, no matter what happens. When Jacob was 8, his father died. Stroke, right before my eyes. I was left with debts, a $180,000 mortgage, and a little boy who asked every night, "Mummy, is Daddy coming back?" I'm not wealthy. I save on my diabetes medication. I buy clothes at thrift stores. But for Jacob, I sold my husband's silver watch to pay for college. I worked 2 jobs, so he would never want for anything. You know what he told me as a child? He brought me dandelions from the neighbor's lawn and whispered, "Mummy, you're the most beautiful woman in the world." I thought I raised a good man. I thought I was a good mother. I was wrong. What happened on his wedding day didn't just nearly kill me physically. It destroyed everything I believed about maternal love and family bonds. But what I did next didn't just destroy her marriage to my son. It stripped her of the right to see my grandchildren and cost her a $650,000 house. If you're a mother who has ever felt unwanted in your own child's family, subscribe right now, because this story will prove that a mother's love is stronger than any betrayal. Now let me tell you how it all began. It all started 18 months ago, when Jacob first brought Ashton home. She walked into my house in a tight red dress, high heels clicking on my old wooden floor, and said, "So you're the mum who does everything for her son? Not nice to meet you, not thank you for having me, just that." Jacob was glowing with happiness. "Mum, meet Ashton. She's an elementary school teacher." I smiled, hugged her. I wanted to love the girl who made my son happy. But something in her gaze, cold, calculating, like she was counting how much every item in my house was worth. Have you ever felt unwelcome in your own home? In the first months, it was little things. How she would forget to invite me to family dinners. "Oh, sorry, Margaret. I thought Jacob told you." But his face showed he knew nothing either. When I cooked Sunday dinner for the whole family, Ashton would order sushi through an app. "Oh, Margaret, I'm on a special diet." "Your food is too traditional." One day I came to visit. My photograph with my late husband had disappeared from the wall. In its place hung a painting Ashton had bought. "Where's the photograph?" I asked. "Oh, I put it in the closet." This is my home now, too. I want to create a fresh look. My home. The home where I had lived for 35 years. Where Jacob was born and raised. But worst of all was how she talked about me to guests. "Margaret is a bit strange. She still lives in the past." And she'd laugh, as if it were a harmless joke. And Jacob, my son whom I had raised, he stayed silent, or worse, he agreed. Mum, Ashton's right. You need to move forward. I was afraid of seeming like the evil mother-in-law from those stories everyone hates. But deep down, I remembered that little boy who brought me flowers from the neighbor's garden and said, "Mummy, you're the most beautiful woman." Where did he go? How did Ashton change him so quickly? That's when I accidentally overheard the conversation. That changed everything. This was a month before the wedding. I came to Jacob's to discuss ceremony details. His car wasn't in the driveway, but the door was slightly open. Walking into the house, I heard Ashton's voice from the bedroom. She was on the phone. Her tone was completely different from the sweet one she used around me. Of course, his mummy will be a problem, but I have a plan. I froze at the bottom of the stairs. After the wedding, we're moving to California. She'll never see the grandchildren. Jacob is too weak to stand up to me. I'm already preparing him. His mother is toxic. My heart stopped. Grandchildren? What grandchildren? I quietly went up the steps, my heart beating so loud. I was afraid she would hear. Yes, I've been pregnant for 2 months. Haven't told Jacob yet. Can you imagine his mother? She thinks she'll be a grandmother, playing with the baby on weekends, buying toys. She laughed, cold, cruel. And I'll forbid her from even approaching my child. I'll tell Jacob she's a bad influence, too old, too depressed, too clingy. I pressed my hand to my chest, to stop breathing, to keep my heart from bursting out. This woman wasn't just marrying my son, she was erasing me from his past, present, and future. Tears streamed down my cheeks. I pressed against the wall, unable to believe what I was hearing. You've seen her house? Old, but in a good neighborhood. Assessed value $420,000. As soon as we get married, I'll force her to sell it. Young family needs space. She doesn't need such a big house alone. The house, my house, where I held newborn Jacob in my arms, where I read him bedtime stories, where I cried after my husband's funeral, while my 8-year-old son stroked my head and whispered, "Don't cry, Mummy. I'll protect you." What if she resists? Then I'll tell Jacob she's becoming a burden. We need to think about a nursing home. He already doubts her mental health. I've been gradually planting those thoughts. At that moment, I realized my son had been stolen from me. Not just his love, his loyalty, his ability to see the truth. I quietly went downstairs, left the house. All the way home, I cried so hard, I could barely see the road. That evening, when Jacob came to see me, I tried to carefully talk to him. "Son, are you sure you know Ashton well?" His face immediately turned cold. "Mom, don't start. I know you don't like her. I just want to make sure you're happy." I am happy. And you know what? Ashton's right. You really are trying to control my life. He left, slamming the door. The next day, a letter came from a lawyer. Ashton had filed a lawsuit demanding I vacate the family home for the Young family. When I showed the letter to Jacob, he just shrugged. Mum, Ashton's right. We need more space. This house is too big for you alone. You can find a small apartment. A small apartment. After 35 years in the house, my husband and I bought, dreaming of the future. That's when I knew. Something would happen on the wedding day. That would change everything. I just didn't know what exactly. Despite everything, I decided to come to the wedding. This is my only son. I wouldn't miss his most important day, no matter what his bride thought. That morning I put on my best blue dress, the same one my husband bought me for our silver anniversary. I spent my last $100 on a hairdresser. I even put on makeup. I wanted to look dignified. When Jacob saw me, he said, "Mum, you look old-fashioned." And Ashton added with a fake smile, "Oh, that's so sweet. Like you came straight from a museum. Vintage is so trendy now." The wedding was held at the Royal Oak Country Club, the same one where my husband and I had dreamed of celebrating our silver anniversary, but couldn't afford it. Limousines, ice sculptures, live white roses from Ecuador, champagne at $500 per bottle. I looked at all this magnificence and thought, this is my son. My little boy whom I bathed in the sink, because we didn't have a bathtub. But joy quickly turned to humiliation. When I entered the hall, the bridesmaids were sitting at a table by the entrance. Seeing me, one whispered something in the other's ear. They both laughed. "Excuse me, who are you?" asked a blonde with fake eyelashes. "I'm the groom's mother." "Oh!" She looked at the list. "Margaret Johnson." "Yes, here. Table number 12. Table 12 was in the very corner of the hall, behind a column. The bridesmaids moved when I tried to sit nearby. At the family table, where my place should have been, sat some cousin of Ashton's from Portland. During the ceremony, I was seated in the last row. I could barely see my son's face, behind the huge hat of Ashton's aunt. When the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," I cried, not from joy, from pain. My boy was kissing a woman who planned to steal my grandchildren. After the ceremony, I approached to congratulate the newlyweds. Jacob hugged me, but somehow, formally, "Thanks for coming, Mum." Ashton stood between us like a wall. "Jacob, the photographer, is waiting. We don't have time for family chats." Family chats. With his own mother. During the cocktail hour, I saw Ashton point at me and say, "She shouldn't be sitting at the groom's table." One of the bridesmaids said loudly, "Poor Jacob. Good thing he has a normal family now." At that moment, something in me broke. I went to the bathroom, not the one in the main hall, the one in the basement. It was quiet there, empty. I just wanted to be alone, to cry, to remember holding Jacob in my arms, the day he was born, how he laughed when I read him stories. I sat on the cold tile floor, closed my eyes. I remembered happy times, when he was just my little boy. I spent about 5 minutes there, pulling myself together. I wiped the tears, fixed my lipstick, took one breath, then another. I decided to go back upstairs, wait for this nightmare to end. I turned the handle. Locked. At first I thought the handle was stuck. I tried again. Nothing. I knocked on the door. "Hey! Someone! The door is locked." Silence. And then I heard the sound of heels clicking away down the corridor. Fast, confident steps. Steps I would recognize among thousands. Ashton's steps. "Help! Someone!" I screamed, pounding on the door with my fists. Only an echo answered me. In the empty basement corridor. I looked around. A small bathroom without windows, dim light from a single bulb on the ceiling, the smell of mold and old pipes, cold tile floor, my prison. For the first half hour I knocked and screamed. My purse with my phone was left upstairs, in the hall. My watch showed 7:30 p.m., time for my insulin. Have you ever felt completely helpless? An hour passed. The music upstairs was like a knife, each laugh, each cheer, cutting deeper and deeper. My son was celebrating his new life, while mine was ending in silence. I began to feel the first signs, trembling in my hands, as if they didn't belong to me. Nausea, dizziness, darkness before my eyes. "God, not now," I whispered. "Not on this day." I sat on the floor, leaning my back against the door. I closed my eyes, tried to control my breathing, and then memories flooded back. I remembered the night Jacob was born. Contractions started at 2 a.m. My husband wasn't home, working the night shift. I got to the hospital by taxi, alone, scared. When the nurse placed tiny Jacob on my chest, he opened his eyes, looked straight at me, and I swore, "I will love you always, no matter what happens." I remembered his first steps. He didn't walk to Daddy, not to a toy. He walked to me, reaching out his little hands, babbling, "Mama, mama." I remembered when he first said, "Mummy, I love you." He was 3 years old. We were lying in bed reading a book. He hugged my neck, whispered those words. I cried with happiness. I remembered how I cried when he went to school. I stood by the window, watched him run to the bus. His backpack was bigger than him. I remembered the night his father died. 8-year-old Jacob didn't understand what was happening. He stroked my hair while I sobbed and said, "Don't cry, Mummy. I'll take care of you. I'll protect you." Where was that boy? How did Ashton steal him from me? 2 hours passed. The trembling intensified. It began to darken before my eyes. I knew. Without insulin, I had at most another hour before I lost consciousness. "Jacob!" I screamed with all my might. "Jacob, Mummy needs help." But music was blaring upstairs. The band was playing Sweet Caroline. The whole hall was singing along. I pounded on the door with my fists until my knuckles turned red, started bleeding. I screamed until my voice became hoarse. And I realized he couldn't hear me. No one was coming. My watch showed 9:45. Without medication, I felt my body beginning to shut down. I sat on the floor and thought, am I really going to die here? In a bathroom? On my own son's wedding day? I imagined newspaper headlines. Elderly woman found dead in bathroom at wedding. They would say, she died at her son's wedding. How sad. And no one would ask, why was she locked up? I don't want to die, I whispered into the void. Not like this. Not now. And then I thought about grandchildren, about children who would be stolen from me, whom I would never see. Ashton would tell them that Grandma was an evil old woman who died when they didn't care. Anger. Suddenly a rage flared up in me that I had never felt before. No, I screamed. I won't let you win. I stood up, began pounding on the door with doubled force. I screamed so loud I thought my vocal cords would burst. Help me! Someone, help! 10:30. My legs were giving way. I had to sit on the floor again. I lay down on the floor, closed my eyes, thought, let it all end. I'm tired of fighting. But then I remembered the words I used to say to little Jacob when things were hard for him. Son, Johnsons don't give up. We fight to the end. Would I give up now? 11 o'clock, 11:15, 11:25. I had almost lost hope when I heard voices in the corridor. Checked everywhere upstairs. She's nowhere to be found. Maybe she went home. Ashton said she wasn't feeling well. But Mike said he saw her purse in the hall. Here! I screamed with my last strength. I'm here, locked in the bathroom. Footsteps approached. Mrs. Johnson? Margaret? Are you there? Yes! Help me! The sound of a turning key. The door swung open. Mike, Jacob's best friend from school, stood in the doorway. His face paled when he saw me. Pale, trembling, with bloody hands. My God, Margaret, what happened? I almost fell. He caught me. Someone locked me in here, I whispered. 4 hours ago. I have diabetes. Need medication. We looked everywhere for you. Ashton said you went home with a headache. She said you asked her to tell everyone. You didn't want to bother anyone with goodbyes. At that moment, I understood. This wasn't an accident. This was intentional. Ashton wanted me to disappear. Forever. And she almost succeeded. At that moment, I didn't cry. No tears, no sobs. Only cold. A calm so deep it frightened me. Because I knew the mother was gone, and a warrior had awakened. That night I didn't tell Jacob anything. Mike drove me home, helped me take my medication. I smiled at my son when he called to ask how things went. It was wonderful, dear. Ashton looked like a princess. But inside I already knew. He couldn't see who she really was. So I had to do this for him. The next morning I drove to a part of town where no one knew me. I found an ad in a post office window. Private detective. Discreet. Affordable. The detective turned out to be an elderly man with a scar on his face. His office was in the basement of an old building. My name is Frank Rivers, he said. 40 years in police, 10 years private practice. Tell me what happened. I told him everything. About the overheard conversation, about the imprisonment, about Ashton's plans. Frank listened silently, occasionally nodding. How much will this cost? I asked. 5,000 for a complete investigation. But I warn you, I know women like her. What we find might break your son's heart. Better a broken heart than a ruined life. Frank smiled. Now I understand where your son gets his character. The investigation took 3 weeks. What Frank discovered exceeded my worst expectations. Ashton Michelle Carter, 28 years old, had never been a teacher. Her education diploma was a fake, bought online for $200. For the past 2 years, she had been working at an escort agency. Elite Companions, under the pseudonym Crystal. Frank showed me photos from the website, Ashton in black lingerie, with a price tag of $500 per hour. But the worst was yet to come. Ashton already had a husband, an official marriage, registered in Las Vegas in 2019, with one Danny Rodriguez. There had been no divorce. Technically, her marriage to Jacob was invalid. This is called bigamy, Frank explained, a federal crime. Frank also found bank records. Over the past 3 months, Ashton had transferred $47,000 from the joint account with Jacob to her friend Tiffany's account, money that Jacob had been saving for a down payment on a house. And the pregnancy? A lie. Frank found medical records. Ashton was taking birth control pills. She was planning a miscarriage a month after the honeymoon. I have a witness from Nevada, Frank said. Danny Rodriguez is ready to testify. She married him in 2019. The marriage was never dissolved. But the most convincing evidence Frank obtained through his police connections. The country club had security cameras. The video clearly showed Ashton goes down to the basement at 7:25 p.m., returns 3 minutes later. She has a key in her hands. Then, at 11:20, she goes down again, leaves the key on a shelf by the entrance. Exactly 5 minutes before Mike found me. She didn't just lock me up. She calculated the timing, planned for me to be found too late. With this evidence, I went to lawyer David Stone. He said, Margaret, this isn't just a divorce. This is a criminal case, and I'll make sure she doesn't just lose the marriage. She goes to prison. The consultation cost $500. But when he saw the materials, a predatory gleam lit up in his eyes. 15,000 for full case management. But believe me, she'll pay much more. I sold my late husband's last stocks, took out a loan against the house. But I knew this was war for my son's future. The moment of truth came a month after the honeymoon. I invited Jacob for Sunday dinner, said I wanted to hear all about the wedding trip. He came alone. Ashton was shopping with friends. Son, I said when we finished eating, I need to show you something. I placed a thick folder of documents in front of him. At first, he didn't want to look. Mom, if this is about Ashton again, just look at the first page. He opened the folder. The first thing he saw was a copy of Ashton's marriage certificate with Danny Rodriguez. Date, April the 15th, 2019. Jacob's face slowly paled. What? What does this mean? It means your marriage is invalid. She's still married to another man. I showed him photos from the escort website, bank statements, medical records, and finally, the security camera video. When Jacob saw how Ashton coldly locked me in the bathroom, he sat on the floor, holding the documents, crying. I thought she loved me, but she just used me. He hugged me. Forgive me, Mum. I was blind. Forgive me for not protecting you. The next day, the lawyer filed for annulment and criminal charges. Ashton was arrested a week later, right at the spa salon, where she was spending the last of the money. Charges: bigamy, fraud, theft, attempted harm. When the news showed her arrest, Jacob sat next to me, holding my hand. Ashton was offered a deal, 4 years in prison in exchange for pleading guilty. She chose the deal. From prison, she sent a letter. Forgive me. I was jealous of you. You were everything to him. I didn't respond. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's a choice. And I chose strength. Today, a year and a half later, Jacob makes me an omelette every Sunday. We look at old photos. He says, I want my children to know what an amazing grandmother they have. He goes to a psychologist, working on trust, and I enrolled in computer literacy classes. I want to create a channel for grandmothers like me. And Ashton, she's serving her sentence. She'll be out in 2 years, with a criminal record for life. If you're watching this, and you've ever sat at a family dinner feeling invisible, if you've ever been called clingy for loving too much, if you've ever cried in the bathroom after a holiday, wondering where your child went, this story is for you. Your love isn't a mistake, it's strength. And one day the truth will stand on your side. If this story made you angry, hit the like button. If you have friends who endure humiliation from daughters-in-law, share this video. And if you believe in justice, subscribe to the channel. A mother's love is the most powerful force in the universe, and woe to anyone who stands in its way. See you in the next video. Remember, you're stronger than you think.